back. For those who are joining us, good morning. Again, thank you for choosing KTN News. We want to dive straight into press review and take a look at some of the stories making headlines on our local dailies, both national and international. And here with me in studio, I have Bernard Wakoli. He is a political analyst, and he will be just helping us go through the press review. It's good to see you. We were just talking about, so this is the first time.
Yes.
The Morning Express audience, Michael and myself, are seeing you for the first time. So is it okay to wish each other Happy New Year?
Yeah, until around June.
Really? Michael was saying until 5th Jan.
But it's still early.
It's still early.
Yeah, it's still early.
Well, it seems to be like a very good year for one Dr. Fred Matiang'i. Of course, on the Standard newspaper, we're running with that big story. Question, as Matiang'i gets more powers. It's the same thing on the Daily Nation. Matiang'i's new role deals blow to Ruto, of course, the DP. And there they break down the powerful committee in terms of supervising, guiding, monitoring, and communication. But let me also bring in the fact that yesterday, the 6 colleagues from the terror attack, the ones specifically from Cellulant offices, were eulogized yesterday by their family and friends. And on this other side of the Standard newspaper, page 6, 7, and 8, tears flow, a prayer service for Riverside terror victims. So we're just going to, that's just an overview of the local dailies this morning. But let's begin with Dr. Fred Matiang'i, shall we?
It's the big story.
He is the big story. He is indeed. And just for the sake of for our audience, let me just give you an overall view of what this new role and reporting lines. Number one, they see us to chair national development implementation and communication committees. He is to monitor and evaluate follow-up mechanisms for resources allocated for projects to ensure proper utilization and realization of the targeted outcome. A lot of the critics, especially those that are aligned to Dr. Ruto, are saying this is a way of undermining him.
Thank you, Zinze, and welcome, viewers. I feel Ruto's powers have not been undermined. As per the Constitution. Ruto is still the principal assistant to the president, and the Constitution did not provide any significant roles that are supposed to be done by the deputy president. And as such, the president provides or gives responsibilities to his principal assistant. The only problem I see in this executive order is in terms of protocol when it comes to cabinet secretaries, because according to the Constitution, all cabinet secretaries are supposed to be, they are at equal level. They are the same. So giving Matiang'i powers to chair cabinet meetings, now it means he's like above the rest of the cabinet secretaries. And the person who is responsible for chairing cabinet meetings is supposed to be the presidency, the president and, you know, the deputy, so that all these cabinet secretaries are answerable to the presidency, are answerable to the president and his deputy. But when now you give other responsibilities of chairing such meetings to a fellow, to a colleague, now it means that these cabinet secretaries will be answerable to Matiang'i, then Matiang'i delivers to the presidency.
Directly.
But having said that, I feel the deputy president should be also get worried to some extent, because most of the roles that have been given to the committee sometimes were being seen as those being done by the deputy president, like moving around and supervising some of those development projects, and also ensuring that the Jubilee Manifesto is being implemented, because the CSS roles are to deliver, are to, you know, to work through the manifestos, to deliver on the manifestos of the ruling party. But when it comes a time that now cabinet secretary is chairing those meetings, and also now the deputy president will have not so much to do in terms of supervision. You
know, Bernard, a lot of that is coming in even on social media, because yes, a lot of people are saying, because that's what we're asking you this morning, is what are your thoughts on President Uhuru Kenyatta giving more powers to Dr. Fred Matiang'i? Vincent says most of them are lazy and want big money at entry-level job, and they don't want to work hard. CS, giving CS Matiang'i extra duties is like adding water into an already well-balanced and sweet mug of coffee. The end product is a mess. One tweet says, if you're a very good worker, why not get more responsibilities if you can handle them well? I have no worries for the CS being given more powers. He works good. And a lot of that is being echoed. The CS Matiang'i is very good at his job. He has proven himself. Isn't this not just going to show that President Uhuru Kenyatta has confidence in him?
Okay, the president might have confidence. You remember there's a time even instructed that he's going to it was like the president was alluding to the fact that Matiang'i is more higher. In high school, you used to read a book called Shamba la Wanyama, where they used to say all animals are the same, but others are more equal than others.
Animal farm.
The animal farm.
Yes.
So what we are seeing here is that although all the 22 cabinet secretaries are the same, but Matiang'i now stands out among them. But having said that, it's also important to note that Matiang'i is currently the CS for Interior and Coordination of National Government Activities. And CS Henry Rotich is the CS for Finance, Treasury and Planning. So these are, I look at it in the same way as, you know, these are responsibilities that maybe lie squarely below their dockets, you know, under their dockets. Because when you look at the portfolio of the Interior and Coordination, he was already the coordinator of national government.
And it's undisputed.
And Rotich is now deputizing him in that coordination roles. So when I look at it, I see as a way of having this person who is in charge of national coordination or coordination of national government, I don't know how it's put in the constitution, chairing the subcommittees of ensuring that the government executes its you know, responsibilities and achieves the manifesto as promised by the government. But having said that, the government of the President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy are still responsible, and they will be held accountable for not or failing to deliver what they promised Kenyans. It will not be as that Matiang'i did not perform, it's the Jubilee government. So still the deputy president has a very key role in ensuring that the manifesto that they promised Kenyans is delivered to the latter.
And the Big Four agenda.
And the Big Four agenda.
His legacy is on the line.
Yeah, sure.
But nevertheless, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, his work from the CS of Education moving forward is undisputed. For Kenyans to say he works hard, he deserves it, it's undisputed that CS Matiang'i does deliver.
Yeah, it's undisputed. But again, when you put so much into somebody, you know, as a good manager, you need to also spread risks and spread responsibilities. If you put so much into an individual, you know, sometimes it becomes overwhelming. I remember during the time of David Kimayo as IG, there was also these sweeping orders where Kimayo was given so much responsibilities in terms of coordinating security agencies, NYS, I don't know what. And at the end of the day, Kimayo's performance really went down. And what I'm seeing in future, maybe, if Matiang'i is not careful, he might be overwhelmed by this, the power now that is chairing cabinet secretaries. And you know, when you get this absolute power, or sometimes it also corrupts absolutely. So if Matiang'i is not careful, he might not get the credit that has made him to be where he is. So he needs to trend very carefully. And also there's this undertone saying that he's now undermining Ruto. I think those who are saying those statements are people who are keen to ensure that there's poor relationship between the CS and his immediate boss, because Ruto is his boss. So when you start sending fears and threats that this now is taking over your powers, is becoming so powerful, is doing what, so Ruto will start looking at Matiang'i in some way like Matiang'i is now becoming a competitor to my post or my position. But what I would advise the DP is that he's still the deputy president, he's still the principal assistant of the president. And in case the president is not there, Matiang'i will be answerable to DP because they are like conjoined twins.
Right.
Yeah.
Wakoli, at the beginning you say that this doesn't undermine the DP's roles. On the Constitution, just highlight for Kenyans and I, what is the role of the DP? Just give us perhaps 3 or 2 pointers.
Okay, the role of the DP in the Constitution is not well cut out because he deputizes the president and he performs duties assigned to him by the president. And in case the president is not around or is attending to international events or
he's next in command.
So he's the one in command actually. He takes over the operation and the running of the government. So his roles are barely or the square lie on what is allocated to him or given to him by the president. So the constitution does not, it's like the deputy governor. You know, we have had some counties where the deputy governor assumes the roles of chief executive officers within those counties so that they are given some responsibility to do. But in our case, as far as deputy president is concerned, there's no cut roles that are clear, specific, that this is what the deputy president is going to perform. So it barely lies on what the president feels like, you know,
deputizing to him.
Yeah, giving him.
All right, so on page 6, 7, and 8 on the Standard newspaper, we continue to highlight the Dusit attack, tribute to heroes who acted fast to save others is on page 6. Page 7, Uhuru orders operations to dismantle the terror cells. I'll just read for you one sentence. It says President Uhuru Kenyatta has ordered a nationwide operation to crack down on radical youth, their mentors and financiers. Then on page 8, state to pay for officers' funeral and 2 Cellulant workers killed in the attack to be buried this week. Grab a copy of the Standard newspaper. Page 6, 7, and 8 continues to highlight this. Let's just touch on this for a moment. So President Uhuru Kenyatta has called for a crackdown on the radical youth, their mentors and financiers. I had the privilege of talking to a sheikh this past Sunday in regards to what it is the Kenyan government needs to do. And he said the problem here is not even the terror attacks. It's the radical youth, the people who teach the wrong teachings of what Islam is. That is what they need to do as the Islam community, is that they need to start telling young people this is the true face of Islam, not terror attacks. On the government side, he said that the government needs to be careful when it comes to marginalizing young people, especially from certain communities. You look at most of them, the people who are in this attack, the attackers, were 24 and below.
Yeah,
these are people who are unemployed.
young people.
Right. So what else can President Uhuru Kenyatta do in order to make sure that this doesn't happen again, even as our KDF soldiers continue to stay in Somalia?
Zinzi, even in developed and very sophisticated democracies or countries, we still have terrorism attacks taking place. But what we do as a country in most cases, we become reactionary. We only react to situations. But by reacting, we do suppression. But in managing these issues, we need to look at the prevention measures. Intervention and let suppression and, you know, come as a last option. And in prevention, we look at, because you said the Sheikh was here and he was talking about radicalization. How can the government work with the religious leaders, faith leaders of the Islam, scholars, Islamic scholars, to come up with the counter-narratives? When a young man is told that if you kill non-Muslims, you are going to marry, you know, get 72 virgins. And
in this case, you know, even Muslims, they were affected in the attack.
So what I'm trying to say is that terrorism now has no boundaries, has no religion, has no, you know, ethnic affiliation. It's now, and it has metaphored into a number of things, you know. They take different approaches. They're now going to non-Muslims, convert them and give them orders and, you know, radicalize them, promise them and give them some money. And this is what young people want. But I feel if the government can start working on you know, intervention and prevention mechanisms, looking at what are the key drivers of young people going into Somalia, what are the key drivers of young people participating in this kind of evils, then we will be addressing the issue. But reactionary and suppression using force, you know, terrorism is an ideology.
It is.
It's an ideology that can't be fought by guns. Because the moment you do it, it's like a mustard seed. It spreads.
Don't you not think at the end of the day, this even goes to show the deeper issue that we have as a society, as a community? Because these young people would not be in these groups if they had job opportunities.
But you see, Zinzi, even with the job opportunities, because there can be opportunities to some extent, but you know, the kind of lucrative, you know, promises that these people come with, you know, maybe you are at a job, you are earning, let's say, 10, 15,000. It's a job, yes, but these people come and tell you, okay, we'll engage you, we'll give you this lump sum. Yeah, we'll give you this lump sum money that will transform your life. You know, so most young people get excited and feel like, okay, even if I die, I'll leave so much for my family.
And you talked about the prevention measures.
Yeah.
At that specific time, what happened is that even if you found yourself in another mall, be it Westgate Village Market, they decided to close them down. They were giving people about 30 minutes to clear and go. But why is it that we have to wait for an attack to happen for us to get back into some of these security features? Because my question is, shouldn't CS Matiang'i, with his boss, Dr. President Uhuru Kenyatta, come out and tell management of certain public places like the hotels, the malls, places where you know a lot of young people or a lot of people will be there, telling management, what are you doing in case of a terror attack? What have you put in place? But that needs to come,
that needs to come
from
early.
the government.
But again, what we have forgotten as a country is to invest in popular intelligence. Because most of these people interact with the people. You look at the people who participated in the terror attack at the Dusit. You realize that these people were, you know, they were interacting with the people at a free, you know, there's a taxi driver who ferries these people to the scene. You know, he was seeing those guys because those guns were not something that you can put in the bag, which means these people saw. And why is it that they could not report to the police? Is again the issue of developing confidence between the citizens and the law enforcement agencies. Because if there's no trust, if there's that fear that if I go to report, I'll be taken as a suspect, then we are losing the point. What the government needs to do as with the CS Matiang'i is to invest in popular intelligence, to build the trust and faith between citizens and the police.
And put pressure on these companies.
And also, we have the Nyumba Kumi initiative, which was supposed to, you know, to provide some of those, you know, preventive measures, looking at your neighbor, understanding your neighbors. But because of poor, you know, investment in terms of resources, the Nyumba Kumi initiative did not pick up.
Right.
So it's still at low level. And if we talk so much without investing in some of these policies, you know, they came after a number of attacks. The government came up with an order of constructing a wall between Kenya and Somalia.
Yes, which has now been suspended.
It's now been suspended, but the government has gone ahead to pay the contractors because they said we want the tender, we started the construction, now we suspend. So the government spent money on those people who had been contracted at the expense of the security. So let it be like we are not just doing lip service. Let it be something that a policy comes from the cabinet, is approved by the parliament, and it's taken forward.
But even the responsibilities of these social gathering places, the malls, the clubs, wherever it is that people choose to go out and socialize, where there are numbers, the management of those malls need to feel that pressure where they need, we cannot compromise on security because tomorrow it could be a different place. So as management of those malls, what are you doing? We've already seen it in two places, Westgate and Dusit D2. Do you have to wait for it to be your mall? And there's this habit that as Kenyans, for the next 6 months, there'll be a lot of security checks in the malls when you enter the matatus and so forth.
But you see,
then we forget.
Sometimes I question the nature and quality of those security checks because these people are just normal. They are just normal human beings. Those who are checking, so they are checking those people who don't possess any security to the malls. But those who have the threat, when they come, they just do what they want to do. Because I remember a guard at the Dusit, when he saw that it's becoming serious, he left the tea there and ran away. You see. So which means they can't do anything. And I'm looking at the government proposal. I was listening to Fazul the other day, suggesting that the government should arm guns to these, some of these guards. I feel is something that can be done, but it needs time. It needs the time to go through the policies, how these people are going to be vetted, or we can have AP officers, like 2 AP officers manning some of those key installations.
But that is a debate that has sparked conversation. These people do not have the best salaries, and then you're giving them a gun.
The gun?
Someone says they will be trained.
Trainings,
but carrying a private personal gun goes more beyond training. There's a certain responsibility that comes with that. So that's a conversation for another day.
Sure.
I'd like for us to quickly touch on international news. So the DRC, Congo rather, will be swearing in their new leader, Tshisekedi, tomorrow, and France is supposed to be sending their ambassador to see this ceremony. I have been following what's happening in Congo, throughout the election, and I think there's something that really stood out for me is how the church in Congo is so vocal on matters politics. Something perhaps our church here in Kenya can also learn something from. What is the role of faith-based organizations in politics?
Since Congo is a very important country in not just in Africa but in the world, you remember is the richest country in terms of resource base. At the same time, is the poorest country, one of the poorest countries in the world. So its election generated a lot of interest, and I know the faith organization had a lot of influence in determining who becomes the president, because faith organization, especially the Catholic Church, is very strong in Congo, and they have built so much infrastructure in terms of schools, healthcare facilities and all those.
Right.
So they have a lot of interest in ensuring that Congo is stable. But due to continued conflict again, where the church, they can take action, but not to a certain level, because when political leaders decide to disagree and, degenerate into anarchy, you see, the church is the one that will lose a lot.
Right.
So I feel that the role that the church has played in Congo can still be emulated in other African countries, especially in Kenya, where we have seen in some cases religious leaders taking positions when it comes to political contests and saying, okay, as we are going to support so and so. I think if religious leaders feel like they want to support a certain leader, they need to emulate the I statement and say, I as Bernard Wakoli, will be supporting so and so, and not talk about a whole religion, because these are people who come from very diverse background, and they have different affiliation, and unless our systems, our democratic system works on the issue of ideology, so that when we are mobilizing our supporters, we are mobilizing people to participate in the electoral process, we are anchored on ideology. We look at individuals and say, this person can put us from point A to B. And like our mobilization, which is actually based on ethnic, tribal, and some personality somewhere, who we think is a semi-god, things like that. And it was very surprising to see opposition leader winning in Congo. And we have had cases where some people have alluded that, the current president was supporting him privately. But having said that, I want to commend the people of Congo for conducting very peaceful election, and also commend the church in Congo for ensuring that the outcome of the elections were accepted by all citizens, all participants, apart from one who also want to be sworn in as people's president. All
right, and that right there brings us to an end to press review. But please grab a copy of this. In fact, on the Daily Nation, Chris Brown arrested in rape probe. He seems to be not the only one, or rather, R. Kelly doesn't seem to be the only one who is under all this rape investigations. Chris Brown has been found to be also on that. I was looking online and finding out that also footballer Cristiano Ronaldo has also, or rather, the story around the fact that a lady called Catherine came out to say that back in 2009, Cristiano Ronaldo did rape her as well. Cristiano Ronaldo also pleaded guilty for tax fraud in a Spanish court yesterday.